Imagine a small elite American Army unit operating just miles from the front lines of World War II's deadliest battles. Their mission? To convince the German High Command that 30,000 U.S. troops were standing right where there was actually no one at all. They weren't armed with rifles or tanks. They were armed with paintbrushes, inflatable rubber decoys, loudspeakers, and sheer audacity. This is the astounding, yet almost forgotten true story of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, a secretive unit composed not of hardened combat veterans, but of artists, designers, engineers, sound experts, and stage magicians. They were known simply as the Ghost Army, and their bizarre, unprecedented mission is credited with saving thousands of American lives. The Blueprint for Deception, Birth of the Unit. The year was 1944. The Allies were preparing for the final, bloody push across Europe. German reconnaissance, airplanes, spies, and intercepted radio signals was relentless. Every Allied troop movement was scrutinized. The fundamental challenge faced by the Allied command was simple. War is a numbers game. How do you win when you are often outnumbered or, more critically, need to be in two places at once? The answer came from British intelligence, perfected through years of deception operations. Tactical illusion. If you can't physically overwhelm the enemy, you must mentally mislead them. In early 1944, a small group of military planners in the U.S. Army decided to recruit a highly specialized unit, the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, with a goal unlike any other in military history. They were tasked with creating an entire, fully equipped and functional Phantom Division, a Trojan horse made of lies. Crucially, the unit was deliberately filled with individuals from art schools, advertising agencies, and Hollywood set design departments. These weren't men trained to kill. They were trained to create convincing reality from nothing. Future famous artists like Ellsworth Kelly, Art Kane, and Bill Blass all served in the ranks of this bizarre fighting force. The tools of the trade, inflatables, and sound. The Ghost Army's success hinged on four core disciplines of deception, collectively known as visual, sonic, radio, and traffic deception. 1. Visual deception, the props. The most iconic tool of the Ghost Army was the inflatable decoy tank, truck, and jeep. Crafted from lightweight rubber and held up by a framework of air, these props could be inflated by a handful of men in minutes. Fact detail. A typical 40-ton Sherman tank, measuring 19 feet long, could be carried in 2 duffel bags and weighed only about 90 pounds. A 2.5-ton GMC truck decoy was collapsible and weighed only 38 pounds. The artists at work. The camouflage netting had to be hung just right to cast realistic shadows. Tire tracks had to be expertly imprinted in the mud to look like heavy machinery had passed. When observed from a distance, or, crucially, from a German reconnaissance plane hundreds of feet up, these decoys were utterly convincing. The artistic eye, not the soldiers, was key here. 2. Sonic deception, the speakers. To make a fake tank look real, it must also sound real. The unit employed a team of sound engineers, many recruited from the radio industry, who developed incredibly realistic sound effect recordings. Using specialized, high-powered amplifiers and massive loudspeakers mounted on trucks, they could blast sounds across a 15-mile radius. Fact detail. The recordings were made at the highest fidelity possible at the time. They included the rumble of 1,000 tanks moving into position, the chatter of soldiers setting up camp, the construction of pontoon bridges, and the distinctive engine noise of different military vehicles. They even recorded the sounds of soldiers shouting orders and mechanics fixing engines. The illusion. By controlling the volume and direction, the engineers could make a small unit of a dozen men sound like a full armored division on the march, convincing German listening posts that a huge attack was imminent from a specific location. 3. Radio deception, the phantom network. This was perhaps the most complex and dangerous part of the mission. The unit included expert radio operators who could perfectly imitate the Morse code fists, the unique rhythm and style of individual operators, of the real American Army's combat units. The mission? These operators created a blizzard of false radio traffic, fake messages, coded orders, and bogus supply requests, all designed to make German intelligence believe a non-existent division was coordinating a major operation. The danger? The operators worked dangerously close to enemy lines, using the exact frequency of the real units they were mimicking. Every transmission was a risk, as the enemy could triangulate their position, marking them as high-value targets. 4. Traffic deception, the actors. Soldiers in the Ghost Army were often required to act the part of senior officers, wearing the unit patches and insignia of the fake unit they were impersonating, and casually interact with locals in nearby towns and even allied personnel. They would deliberately leak false information, complain loudly about their division's location, and drink in local taverns to spread the gossip that German spies would inevitably pick up. Target: the great performances, saving lives. The Ghost Army conducted over 20 major field operations, often deploying within sight and hearing of enemy troops. Their successes were nothing short of miraculous. Operation Bet Bull, April 1945. One of the unit's most critical missions came right at the end of the war, Operation Bet Bull. The actual Ninth Army was preparing a massive, decisive crossing of the Rhine River. To draw German attention away, the Ghost Army was deployed to the town of Viersen. The setup? A mere 1,100 men, the entire Ghost Army had to convincingly simulate the arrival, assembly, and readiness of a 30,000-man force, the U.S. 30th and 79th Infantry Divisions. The action? For 6 days, the unit put on a spectacular show. They inflated hundreds of decoys, broadcast relentless sonic recordings of construction and movement, and sent a flood of fake radio traffic. They even used theatrical smoke and pyrotechnics to simulate the exhaust fumes of real trucks and the smell of cooking for a massive camp. The result? German artillery and reconnaissance focused their attention and fire on Viersen, believing the main assault would come there. The German command diverted real combat troops and resources to face the ghost units. When the Ninth Army launched its real crossing miles away, it met significantly less resistance, saving thousands of lives during one of the war's final major battles. The urge of silence, declassified. Due to the sensitive nature of their work, the techniques they developed were considered vital for future military operations. The existence of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops was classified as top secret, and remained so for over 50 decades. The soldiers, who returned home with incredible cinematic stories, were legally sworn to silence. They could not tell their families, their friends, or even their fellow veterans about what they truly had done in Europe. For many years, it was a silent chapter in American history. It wasn't until 1996 that the mission was officially declassified. Only then could these artists, set designers, and sound engineers finally reveal the astonishing truth. They were not just soldiers, they were tactical illusionists who waged war through imagination.